Hello and welcome to the Fox D Network. Today we have a great guest, author of his new book. I'll let him tell you more about that in a second. His name is Troy Stephen, but before we get to that, Fox D Network is about making you the face of the network. We produce professional interview videos you can share with your following on social media. And we also have payment options for additional promotion through our platform and through Roku ads. Build your brand, be your brand with Fox D Network. All right, now it's just me and you, Troy. We've been talking for a little bit before this, so I hope that doesn't hinder anything, but it's been delightful getting to know you. But now I want to learn about your book. I understand your book goes into a lot of things with bipolar condition. And in most cases, people just have negative connotations, but you have some positive things about being bipolar as well and dealing with them yourself. What are those?
This is the Fox D Streaming Network.
Thank you for having me on the show.
You're welcome.
I've been dealing with bipolar disorder since my first episode in 1993. So I got lots of years behind me. Some positive things are for people who are bipolar, from a lot of times they have hypomania or mania, and they go through stretches of time where they have tons of energy and creativity and get all kinds of things done in a quick amount of time. From a positive standpoint, there's lots of people who are bipolar that are famous that, did major things in their life, like Ted Kennedy, Winston Churchill, Abe Lincoln, John Claude Van Damme.
Abe Lincoln was bipolar?
He was, back in those days,
They didn't
I guess you would
diagnose,
say
yeah.
he was thought to be bipolar, But yeah, he suffered through a series of depression. So from positive standpoint, the thing that I'd like you to know about bipolar is that when people aren't having episodes or experiencing bipolar symptoms, they're just normal like everyone else, working at jobs and having families when the bipolar hits, that's where it turns into negative. Of course, you've heard of like bipolar people have depression, and 20% of people who are bipolar are up to 20%. There's been studies that have done that up to 20% of people commit suicide who are bipolar. So it's, like I guess you would say it has ups and downs would be how you would describe bipolar.
Quite literally. No, I've worked in restaurants for a long time. I've seen a lot of in restaurants. It attracts a lot because it's very welcoming, and you can make your money working shorter shifts and being very focused on just the tasks in front of you as they come in front of you. And it works with a lot of mental health issues to just be able to focus like that. And there's not a lot of background checks, so it's always been a safe haven for a lot of people with illnesses. So I've worked with a lot of people with illnesses. Like thinking back to one of the more successful cases, she would be late once in a while. And then a year into it, she opened up to me. It's like, I'm never actually late. I show up 20 minutes early. Sometimes I just have to cry for a half hour in my car and it brings me to be late. But that's like one of the tools she found to work her job and also deal with what she knew she had to deal with. But you have some tools for that. You have some resources in your book to kind of combat the different things that come at you when they come at you. Like, what are some of those tools?
Yeah, so my book's called Breaking Bipolar, modeled after Breaking Bad as a title.
Yeah.
And it's a self-help book for people who are bipolar and their loved ones. So my book primarily says to make a bipolar battle plan that is based on the expert recommendations of the medical community. The consensus is that successful treatment of bipolar disorder depends on diligently following a comprehensive treatment plan, including medication, educating yourself about the illness, communicating with your psychiatrist and therapist, having a strong support system, making healthy lifestyle choices, and learning self-help techniques. but in my book, I'll go through the weapons. I call them weapons. I'll go through them
Yeah,
pretty
you
quick.
don't call them tools. You call them weapons. So tell me some of the things.
So the first weapon I call the contingency plan, and this is a plan that you have where you have made a prearranged agreement with your psychiatrist. If you're going off the deep end, have mania or depression, and you feel suicidal, or you know that you're in the midst of an episode, you can call your psychiatrist anytime, day or night. Also, to have one or two close friends that they understand your illness, and have one of those people to call. So I have a written 2-page thing in the back of the book that you could write down your contingency plan and have the phone numbers and people in front of you if you need be. Next is I call enemy recon, and that's basically that if you're bipolar, you should learn as much as you can about the illness, study it, figure out what kind of triggers that could cause you to have an episode. So get a master's degree in in bipolar disorder.
I love that you start with have that backup plan before you even create your plan. This is your backup plan. We're gonna work through a lot of things. You're gonna have to learn a lot of things, but before we do anything else, you need this plan in case of emergency, and then we're gonna go for what you can do ahead of time. That's a good way to order it, and I commend you for that.
It's something to fall back on, and
Yeah.
everyone should consider that it's not just one thing that's going to help you successfully manage bipolar disorder. It's a combination of things. It's a whole life wellness plan. Train your body is one of the weapons. Train your mind. Find the right psychiatrist. Learn how to optimize your medications. There's checklists that you can go through in that chapter that, like mood trackers, and basically figure out, are my medications working, or are they not working? If they're not working, be able to explain to your psychiatrist exactly why they're not working, so he can tweak your meds, or go off this med, go on another med. So optimizing your medications is crucial, because otherwise, basically, if you optimize your medications, you're happy, you're successful, and you're making your dreams come true. I mean, following the whole plan that's the whole thrust of it.
And you can still be vibrant, like we were talking about earlier. Like if you have the wrong combination of medication, sometimes it'll dull you in different ways. But there is a combination for everyone to get through it and still be who you are. Like there may be some side effects here and there, but you can continually drive to try to work with your professionals to find the right combination to be your best self.
Yeah, and that's, everyone that's bipolar needs to have hope that they can overcome the illness. There is a way out. You could be victorious in the war against bipolar disorder. You need to embrace the fact that, you want to be a bipolar warrior and live that kind of life every day. Take measures to make that happen. A few of the other weapons there's a chapter on how to recover from an episode. Chapter on what is it like to be in psychiatric hospitals, and also a chapter on legal rights, which, for your job. And so it's good to know all this information.
I want to know a little
You know,
bit about that, though. What is it like to be in a psychiatric hospital?
This is the Funks D streaming network.
It's definitely a structured environment. If you're in the hospital, then you're in there because something bad's happened. You're getting help. You've either been involuntarily admitted to a hospital, or you voluntarily checked yourself into a hospital. But you basically have you're either stay in a room by yourself or with somebody else. The nurses will check on you. There's at certain times of day, they dispense their medications to you. You are assigned a doctor or a team of doctors that decide, are part, they decide your treatment plan. you can't say, no, I'm not going to take the medications in most cases. They'll, because that would be like you're you need to follow the rules if you're in there. Um, you can't, the doctors have control for you to get out of the hospital. So when you meet with them and they monitor you and they ask the nurses how things are going, you can't just walk out of the hospital. You have to have their permission to walk out of the hospital. There's usually during the day, they encourage everyone to be out there in the common area, not just laying in your room. That's another thing they monitor in terms of, is this guy getting better or this woman getting better? There's group therapy, which I always hated. It's just, when I first had my first episode, group therapy, I was like, this sucks. I hate to be around these people and have to talk. And, but later on now in my life, I've joined bipolar support groups where you go meet in person or online after COVID a lot of times. And they're real helpful because you have other people who are bipolar that experience the same things as you. And they give you advice. There's usually a leader that will go around and ask everyone how they're doing to check in. So anyway, bipolar support groups have been real helpful for me. I would encourage people to do that. In fact, with COVID, it's good to get out of the house and be around people, and it's a lot of people will just stay at home and I'm depressed and I'm bipolar and there's nothing I can do about it. But you need to take total responsibility for your illness and learn about it.
Yeah, it's not
Do
your
everything
fault,
you
but
can.
it's not your fault, but it's your responsibility, is what I've
Right.
always been told. But no, like you say that in your contingency plans should definitely be being around other people and not isolating.
Yes. Getting fresh air is important, and sunshine will help a lot, help your energy. Because with bipolar, I've figured out that you probably heard about energy work like Reiki and all kinds of different energy yoga. But with bipolar, that's where when I'm having episodes, I call it my energy level or my mood, which is related to the energy, will fluctuate up and down. And being cognizant of if you're having low energy and you need to go recharge, take a nap, take a walk, just realizing that you're having this negative energy can help you manage the illness to,
And what about when
to
you're
not,
high energy?
when you're high energy, it's great because you're getting a lot done. You're focused, and that's the whole crux of having mania is it just high energy and everything is okay and this is where I should be, or am I having a manic episode that's going to skyrocket out of control? And if you need to realize if you can realize you're having a manic episode, you can do something about it, like contact your psychiatrist, that kind of stuff. Kind of going all over the bases here, but one thing that I've found when I'm having episodes is I made a plan with I'd go in to see that psychiatrist and I'd be like, I'm having these feelings like I'm in a Target and I'm walking down the aisles and I just like instantaneously feel like I got to run out of the store as fast as possible because I might be getting dangerous or just paranoia. So the agreement I came to with my doctor, I take Seroquel as one of my medications and take like 500 milligrams of Seroquel. So he said, carry around a 400 milligram tablet in your pocket if you're being really manic and scared and maybe suicidal. And with me, it would be like these feelings would just all of a sudden come. It's not like for me, it's not like a gradual thing, but I'm feeling fine. And then all of a sudden, bam, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. If you feel dangerous and you need help, I just pop a med, take the pill immediately to, save myself from disaster, basically.
Yeah. No, that sounds That sounds so intense and so scary. And I, I, I'm so glad you have a plan, but I'm sure I've known so many people who didn't have one who just had to continually go down that road. So just to work with your, to be so honest about how it hits you and keep track of how it hits you so you can work with your professionals to have a plan like that, because it probably has saved you from some some disasters. You know, what about, like, I know I talked about how I've worked with a lot of people with different mental illnesses, but how's it affected your work um, as you've navigated life?
Come on our channel at fonxdnetwork.com.
Yeah, I'm an engineer. I worked as an aerospace engineer for 25 years. My first couple jobs, I was a permanent employee for my first three jobs, 5 years, 3 years, 3 years. And then I began contract engineering. And I went from, you could work for 2 years as a contract engineer at a certain company. So I went from company to company and I moved all over the country working for Sikorsky Helicopter and General Electric Aerospace and L3 Harris on the F-35 jet integrated control unit. So I bounced around with jobs. A couple of jobs I quit basically because I was having a bipolar episode. So that affected my job.
Yeah.
But I was always able to bounce back and get a job. I have a bachelor's degree from Purdue University in engineering and a master's from North Carolina State in engineering. So a lot, bipolar people, they're high functioning. They can be. And I think, my belief is that anyone who's bipolar can take steps to overcome it. It's possible, have faith in yourself and the universe. You can overcome it, but it's definitely not going to be easy. And I
No.
still will have symptoms of bipolar. Like I'll go through where I can't fall asleep for 3 or 4 days. And I know that I'm starting to get, have some symptoms and I just kind of ride it out. Sometimes you just got to ride it out and eventually come back to a stable mood.
No, I'm working with a young lady right now who, like, I write her schedule and I work with her, but she's been switching medications. She's had to check herself into a hospital. She's had different trauma, but she's very, like, I write her schedule so that if she does need that time, I can give it to her. It sometimes hurts a little bit, but I know she's being open and honest with me, and I'm super willing to work with her on those things because I know she's switching medications and I know she's going through a lot and she doesn't have control over yet, but she's trying. And I know it's sometimes tough to talk to people about, but talking to your employers and letting them know so that they can be part of your contingency plan, I'm sure I'm sure it can only help. But it's probably hard because you've dealt with a lot of prejudices your whole life. Like, have you dealt with any prejudice for being bipolar?
The hardest thing for me when I had my first episode was my family knew about it. You know, Everyone knew about it in my family because it was a bad thing. I ended up in psychiatric hospital. So I had my first episode and I recovered, and it was getting to be Christmas time. So me and my wife and my 4 kids drove up to Indiana from North Carolina to stay at my mom's for Christmas. And I could just kind of feel the people not watching me, but kind of paying attention. Is Steve going to go off his rocker? This kind of stuff. The thing that broke my heart was that I was at my mom's and I needed to go up the stairs to go get my coat, and it was in the bedroom where my cousin's baby was sleeping. And my aunt Carol said to her son John, who that was his kid, to go up there with me. Like I'm going to hurt the baby or something. So it's kind of depressing, but
No,
that
that's
so it's kind of like prejudices. As I usually would not tell my employer I was bipolar, um, and it never kind of backfired on me. So I
I didn't
wouldn't.
mean to like give people the wrong advice. I apologize. I just
No,
know
no.
I've worked with people, and it's usually not at first, but once they see that I'm going to help them, like I do my best. So
Yeah, I
go on.
understand about telling your employer that is good advice, and if you know, that's one approach for sure that would.
This is the Funks D Streaming Network.
Well, in an industry like restaurants where you can't make up the work the next day, it's probably a slightly different situation, and I don't know if that helps or hurts, but um, it's definitely something I've dealt with in my life. Like not worked with people, not dealt with people. Wrong choice of words. Um, you know, we do have the holidays coming up. Is there any advice you'd give to veterans or homeless, unemployed? Like it's a hard time right now. Anything you'd tell them, right, to help deal with everything?
My advice would be to, like we talked, have human interaction if you can every day. Talk to friends, and just getting out of the house is sometimes a great thing to do, and get a cup of coffee with a friend. Um, Isolating is bad if you're bipolar, or even a veteran that's come back from the sea overseas and has PTSD kind of. Um,
Yeah,
I know that for bipolar people that there's two, when the light starts to change, when there's less sunlight around November and December timeframe, that will trigger people to go into a bipolar depressive episode when the light's starting to change. So you need to be aware of that. Try to get as much sunlight as you can. A lot of people use lights in their house, bright
yeah, those blue
lights, and
lights.
yeah. And um, on the other side is during March and April when spring is coming and there's more daylight, that'll trigger people to go into mania. So that's seasonal affective disorder along, as part of the bipolar spectrum.
Is that part of your strategy? Is to really get to know what triggers you? And you were talking about keeping track of your moods. Like, do you have a good handle on a lot of your triggers at this point?
I I believe I do, but definitely because everyone that's bipolar, it affects them differently. But there's
Yeah,
kind of a bipolar signature to people. Personally, when I start not having as not getting as much sleep, um, getting paranoid or having hallucinations, those are the kind of things that I watch out for. And triggers, like sleep is one of the primary triggers of bipolar episodes. If you're not getting enough sleep, regulated sleep, that's one of the top three triggers of someone going, triggers to make people have a bipolar episode. Like if you have roommates and they're partying and you can't fall asleep, or traveling and jet lag. So sleep is very important if you're bipolar, get enough sleep. But yeah, everyone seems to have like their own bipolar signature. And if you can recognize that you're having the same symptoms as you did in the past and be aware of those and cognizant of them, that can help, keep you from having an episode.
yeah. Is there any other weapons you want to try to go into a little bit deeper to tell us like some little tidbits you can give to people to have them be a little bit more prepared? Because I know we don't have enough time to go over the whole book, but any
Sure. Yeah. So one of my favorite chapters in my book is called Train the Mind. That's a weapon, one major weapon. And there's self-help strategies, reading self-help books from authors like Miguel Ruiz wrote the Four Agreements. Be impeccable with your word. Don't make assumptions. Don't take anything personally. Always do your best. That's a great, um, following the Four Agreements is a great thing from a mental standpoint. So really using your mind, positive thinking techniques, self minimize your self-importance. Napoleon Hill, who wrote Think and Grow Rich, has a process called autosuggestion that you focus your mind on daily with while you're thinking of, you focus your mind on what you want to achieve and use positive emotions to while you're thinking about achieving that and how you're going to do it, and it magnetizes your subconscious, and then it'll bring the things into your life that you need to achieve that goal, the people and the coincidences that will help you achieve that goal. So positive thinking. One thing I use a lot is I was recommended by my psychiatrist is when I'm driving down the road or at home and I'm having negative thoughts. I'm thinking negatively. I'm pissed off because of something someone said to me, or something they said, their actions. So anyway, if I'm thinking negatively and I realize it, then I have a key word that I say to myself out loud: noise. I say noise, and then shift my thinking to something positive and quit ruminating over all these negative things. So having those kind of tips and techniques, help me a lot, because really everyone who's bipolar needs to take total responsibility for their illness and use their mind when it's not being.
Come on our channel at fonxdnetwork.com.
Yeah, and I'm guessing it's an uphill battle until you understand all the different things you need to do for yourself, training your body, training your mind. It sounds like you're getting into a lot of different routines and putting in a lot of effort over a period of time in order to actually have that baseline. It's not something you can master in a day. It's something that's going to take continual effort, but there is an end. There is not an end, but there is a goal. There is the time where it's not going to be uphill. It's going to level out, and you'll be able to live your life a lot more normally than you might have hoped.
Yeah, it's not like it just cut off switch where I did all these things and now everything's great. Like me, every day I try to, follow these weapons and use these weapons effectively, and it's an overall, wellness plan that you need to follow. And I know it's not going to go away. Life's not.
Yeah.
Life's maybe supposed to be tough, and once you figure out that you accept that it is tough, then it's just life.
Yeah, we all have our struggles. It's one of the things I live by is no matter who you're looking at, they're struggling with something right now. It's just not in us to enjoy anything easy for too long. Once you have all these needs figured out, these other problems start to come up on you. So yeah, I agree with you that life is a bit of a struggle, but you can really enjoy it as well. So lastly, I just want to give you a chance to plug your book. Hold it up to the camera. Read a little bit off the back, whatever you'd like to do to try to get people. We also have a link down below. If you want to click the link, you can buy it on Amazon and just check out Breaking Bipolar on the web. What do you got? Breaking Bipolar.
So that's the front of my book, Breaking Bipolar. My book's just one tool that you can use. There's other books like An Unquiet Mind by Kay Jamison. It's a great book to read if you're bipolar. But definitely, you should read my book. Take a look at the battle plan. Make your own battle plan. Everyone's is going to be different. Structure it toward you and what you want to achieve and what will help you the most. And think to yourself, what are the 2 or 3 things that aren't working in my life that I need to take corrective measures for, and focus on those. Yeah, I want to touch briefly on my chapter, Optimize Your Medication, because medication is so important if you're bipolar. I mean, some people can manage it without medication, but most don't. So there's a checklist you can go through and to figure out, is my medication working? What's working, what's not working, what is working? so medication, right? When you start taking medication, psychiatrist prescribes you a certain medication. He doesn't say take 500 milligrams right away. There's usually a ramp up stage. Take 200 milligrams for 2 weeks, take 400 milligrams for the next 2 weeks. And this whole ramp up stage, your mind and your chemicals are fluctuating around. Then he'll tell you, yeah, you get to 500 milligrams, stabilize. And then after that, come see me a month later and see how things are going. And so then, some meds don't work. And so you go back to your psychiatrist and he says, okay, let's go off of this med. So he tells you to ramp down the med, go from 500 to 400 in the next 2 weeks, then 200, then 100. So there's a ramp up stage, a ramp down stage. There's side effects to different medications that are, your hands are shaking. I've had some side effects where I started the medication and 2 days later I was instantaneously puking while I'm driving down the road, couldn't get the window down, or when I was at home in my lazy boy, I couldn't make it to the bathroom. I thought it was the flu. And then I was like, I just started this new medication. This must be doing it. So I went and saw my doctor and he's like, pulled out this is when they had like big books and looked up the medication. And he's like, yeah, 20% of people who take this medication have this puking side effect. And I was like, why didn't you tell me that?
Yeah.
But meds is, trying to manage your meds. And luckily, I had 3 bipolar episodes, one in 93, one in 2005, and one in 2015. And I would call those major episodes. I mean, there's not minor bipolar episodes, but major means I crashed and burned and ended up in the hospital. Well, after the one in 2015, I started writing Breaking Bipolar and putting the plan into effect. I wrote it because I wanted to help myself, but I definitely wanted to help others as well. And finally, I was able to get on the right combination of medications that make me whole again. I had my mind's clicking along like it used to, or when I was in college, or made the dean's list.
Yeah.
I've been able to advance toward my dreams. I started a publishing company back in a year and a half ago. I was working for an aerospace company called Collins Aerospace, and they let me go because of COVID. So I finished my book, learned all the ropes about Amazon and Audible and ebooks and paperbacks, and I started my publishing company. It's called Battle Press, and I've been lucky enough. I've published 30 books so far, and I really love doing it. Work at home. So once I got in that combination of meds that were working for me, knock on wood, everything has been great, and I'm making good inroads. So my advice to anyone who's bipolar is to have hope. Don't give up hope. There's a way out of this catastrophe. There's a right combination of meds, and I can follow these steps, and I could get my life back, and I can achieve my dreams and be happy. Don't give up hope. Believe in yourself and the universe.
No, just you talking about that checklist, I actually might purchase Breaking Bipolar. I take that back. I will purchase Breaking Bipolar for my coworker who's going through that, changing meds, and a checklist might be like an invaluable tool for her to like really hone it in and get it, because she's a very young lady, and if she's able to get it done now, that would be amazing. And to keep her from having to struggle again and again, and to hone down her medications in a shorter time frame, I mean, you could be buying her years of her life.
And it's just not, this book is not just, it will help people with other mental illnesses than bipolar,
Yeah.
I think. I have a YouTube channel, Troy Steven, that's got some great videos on it that I made.
This is the Funks D Streaming Network.
Be something to check out.
Yeah. Troy Steven. Anything else
Yep.
you'd like to plug? You got your, if people wanted to submit for your publishing company, do you have a website for that?
Yeah, it's battlepress.media, www.battlepress.media. And it's a bookstore for books that I've published, as well as if you want to need help with your book, proofreading, editing, formatting, cover design, book cover design, publish it on Amazon, Ingram Spark, Drafted Digital. So yeah.
Wonderful. I also have another friend who just wrote a children's book and is going through that right now. I'll probably send her your way. Well, it's been great talking to you, Troy, and I hope you've had a good time too. Check him out, buy the book below, and check out his YouTube page as well. Other than that, it's been wonderful, and I'm gonna cut off and say goodbye to everybody. Again, I'm JB
Thank
in
you
the
very
D.
much.
You're welcome, and this is Fox D Network.